It is a dark, moonless night. The path through the woods is narrow. Leaves from a long-forgotten autumn crunch under Brandon's feet. Above him, the twisted fingers of trees cut black gashes across the starry night sky. The cicadas are buzzing, deep in the darkness of the forest. The low mechanical drone is both calming and unnerving. Brandon walks the path by the dim light of the stars. He cannot exactly remember how he got here. The last thing he remembers is sitting in his living room floor. His memories are dark, inky things that fall apart just as they come together. What would he see if he looked down the trail behind him? A dark presence voiced only by the droning of the cicadas warns him to keep his head down. Looking down at his feet, he feels an odd sense of vertigo. His feet are moving backwards. His front foot lifts off the ground and then moves behind him, like a movie running in reverse. He looks up and he is still moving forward down the path. He knows that this current moment, though it has dreamlike qualities, is very much real. Maybe the living room was the real dream. Maybe everything he knew in his life was just a dream, and now he is finally awakened and here in the dark world. Walking as he has been all of these years. If he looked in a mirror, would he be shocked at the face looking back? He stretches out his hands in front of his face. They look unfamiliar, but he cannot be sure in the dim light. Something catches his eye up the trail. There's a faint glow ahead. Yellow light painting the leafless trees in silhouette. Through the trees, he can see a clearing. He isn't sure where it is the trail is taking him, but he is sure that he is nearly there. The trail opens into a small circular clearing. Soft, freshly mowed grass meets the edge of a forest and races up into a hill. Atop the hill sits an old covered picnic area. Warm yellow lights illuminate the dozen or so people standing around the tables. Conversations and soft laughter roll down the hills in waves. Brandon is reminded of the family reunions from his childhood. This is a warm and comforting place. Brandon stands on the edge of the clearing, looking into the picnic area with a nostalgia that fills him. A woman breaks away from the crowd and starts down the hill to Brandon. Her shadow casts a long line across the lawn in front of her. Brandon both recognizes her and is certain he has never met her before. She looks almost familiar, like a family member that has aged beyond recognition since the last time seen. A time-lapse photo taken 1 decade at a time. She is an older woman with silver white hair and piercing purple eyes. As she comes up to Brandon, she reaches out for a hug. "I thought we would be seeing you tonight, Brandon." Brandon starts to reply, unsure what to say. She hugs Brandon warmly and pulls back, holding him by the shoulders. "Now I'm sure you have all kinds of questions. But first, come on up and meet everyone. Of course, you know everyone already, but meeting is a good excuse for a hug now, isn't it?" She tilts her head in a gesture towards the picnic area and turns back up the hill. Brandon follows her. She continues talking without turning around. "Don't worry, you haven't missed too much. You got here right in time. I hope your journey through the woods wasn't too cold. You sure did take the long way here, didn't ya?" Brandon realizes that he has been freezing. He was so cold for so long that he had forgotten what warmth even felt like. The warmth of this clearing is the only reminder of the coldness of the woods. What was that place? She turns to him, her piercing purple eyes smiling. "Well, that's the dark medium. Most people that walk in there just never come out. But you've always been a clever one, haven't you? Why, you must have backwards walked your way all the way here, didn't you? Oh, lordy. Well, you'll find there are easier ways to get here." She lets out a warm, knowing laugh. "Pardon me for asking, ma'am, but who are you?" She stops on the edge of the picnic area and turns to him with her hands on her hips. "Oh yes, the name game. Well, in this age, I guess I go by Margaret. Nice to meet you by name." She sticks out her left hand to shake. Brandon fumbles for a moment before meeting her left hand with his. "Nice to meet you, Margaret. Now you make yourself at home. Walk around and say hello. I think many people here would really like to meet you. Stay as long as you want." Her eyes flash to the forest behind him and then back. "But I think you'll want to leave before it gets too late." She rests her hand on his shoulder and points with her free hand. When you're ready to go, you just walk over to that fountain there and take a drink. It'll get you home faster than that backwards walking. Brandon can see a stone water fountain on the far end of the picnic area. Just take a drink. Yes, water's so good, isn't it? Now go make some friends. I'll be seeing you later, Brandon. Brandon looks into the picnic area for a moment. Margaret, one more thing. He turns back to her, but she's gone. Brandon shrugs. I might have known. The people in the picnic area stand around tables, talking and laughing in small groups. Brandon looks at each group, searching for a place to start, when a large hand claps him on the shoulder. Why, hello there, stranger. Margaret said you might be coming. Brandon turns to see a middle-aged man and his wife. The man is smiling at him. You must be Brandon. Well, my name is Hugo, and this is my wife, Monica. Brandon reaches out with his left hand and shakes hands with the two. Nice to meet you both. Hugo slaps Brandon on the back once more and crosses his arm. First time out, huh? Well, don't be too afraid. Walking through those woods is probably the worst it's ever gonna get. What is this place? Brandon asks in a low voice. Hugo laughs. He has one of those infectious laughs that always brings a smile. Yeah, I say that's the right first question. Well, I say there's about a dozen names for these places, and none of them get it quite right all the way. But I'll tell you how I see it. That out there, he points to the nearly completely black woods. That's the ether. It's where the world of the living ends and the dead world begins. These two worlds, they ain't so disconnected like most people think. There's no hard separation between the two. They're more like neighbors. The further you walk into those woods, the further you get from any life but your own. Some souls have been lost out there since the creation. Now look around here. He turns to the picnic area. Brandon looks around at the faces of these familiar strangers. These fine people are all very much alive. If you get enough living souls together, it adds a little light to this dark world. Brandon notices that even though the whole picnic area is set in soft, warm light, the light isn't coming from anywhere. It's coming from everywhere all at once. Hugo continues. Now mind you, none of us are alive in the way you probably know it. Your definition of life depends on time. Alive on Monday but dead on Tuesday, right? Well, out here, time doesn't unravel in any particular order. We are all visiting here from our own little spot in time. We've just walked away from the clock and into the ether. You dig? Brandon fills the concept form in his head, and then all at once, it falls apart. I think I got it. Monica laughs and squeezes Hugo's arm. Oh, Hugo, you're just going to confuse the poor kid. You stop filling his head full of that nonsense. Listen to me, sugar. All you need to know is that it's cold and lonely out there. Out there, people start to break down and their own darkness gets a hold of them. But here you have the warmth of family and the light of life. It's as simple as that. Life only happens where you have more than one soul in the same place. Don't listen to the professor here. We are all here to keep the light burning. And how do we do that? Brandon asks. Just by being here. She pats her hand right in the middle of Brandon's chest. You've got all the light you need right here. Now come on, let me introduce you to everyone. Monica leads Brandon around the party and introduces him to everyone. With every person he meets, he can't shake the feeling that he's met these people before. As the party wears on, the warm golden light gets dimmer and dimmer. Brandon notices that there are less people here, but he can't recall seeing anyone leave. He watched people go over to the water fountain, but something would always draw his attention away, and he wouldn't remember to look back. Before he realized it, he is the only person left in the picnic area. The light is very dim now. Just a low, soft light that seems to be coming from somewhere just above his head. The edges of the black forest seem to have moved closer. The trees have somehow moved all the way up to the edge of the concrete pad. The loud, hypnotizing sound of the locusts comes in waves from all directions. Somewhere, a single branch snaps, a large branch. The hair crawls up Brandon's neck and his ears raise. A tree sways and crashes, its branches slapping and breaking as it falls. There is something in the forest, and it is moving. Brandon remembers the fountain and walks over to it, looking over his shoulder. The fountain is a small, squat stone fountain. A bowl has been shaped out of concrete on top, with a small metal spigot off to the left. Behind him, it sounds as if a tree has been torn from the earth, its roots snapping and breaking. Moments later, he can hear it come crashing down, landing hundreds of feet away, as if something threw it. A coldness blows through the picnic area and sends a shiver through his body. Brandon reaches and turns on the fountain. A small stream of water comes out, arching into the bowl. He reaches out his hand and tests the water. The water drips across his fingers. Where it touches his skin, a rainbow streak is left behind, dripping a sparkling stream into the basin. His hands start to dissolve and swirl down the drain. Before he can react, his arm and shoulder stretch and dissolve into a stream like sand being swept away by a storm. He hears it crashing and looks back. The roof of the picnic area is torn off and thrown backwards into the sky. Pure darkness stands over him. The darkness is a singular presence. He can feel the void reaching out to him. It is hungry. He turns back to the fountain, now filled with water, and dunks his head into the water. All at once he melts. Blackness. He can feel that he still exists, but he cannot exactly pinpoint what form he is in. The black world shimmers with highlights of water. He can feel himself turning over and moving through the stream. Cold darkness rushes past him. The darkness shimmers. Iridescent streaks turn and coil around him. Suddenly, it washes up over him. Light blinds him. He rubs his eyes and vaguely realizes that he has hands again. His eyes come into focus and he sees that he's standing in a foggy field. It is either dusk or dawn. There is so much fog he cannot tell which. The grass is overgrown and many large rocks pepper the field. Over on the horizon he sees a ridge. Faintly he can make out the silhouettes of men along the ridge. Brandon looks down and sees that he has a body again, and he is covered head to toe in a heavy linen. A low explosive thump causes him to jump. On the ridge, several explosions rip through the deadened silence in sequence. Cannons firing. From behind, a man screams, "Get down!" The man tackles Brandon to the ground. An oscillating whir tears through the air as a cannonball flies past and into the earth with a crackling thud. The man pulls himself off Brandon and gets up into a crouching position. Brandon immediately recognizes the man as Hugo. "Hugo, what's going on?" Hugo looks at Brandon for a strange moment. "Try and stay out of the path of those things. We got to move." Hugo takes off running in a low crouch. Brandon follows. They move along the rocks and down along the bank of a river. Ahead, Brandon can see the river meets in a confluence, two black bodies of water swirling and sliding together like liquid glass. There are men along the banks of the river, men with rifles. The men see them and begin to wave them closer. "John, over here," one of them whispers. Hugo and Brandon quickly creep up to them. A crate of rifles lies open on the shore. The men are dressed like poor farmers, Brandon thinks. Hugo grabs a rifle and turns to one of the men. "They got the cannons out quickly. I suppose they are onto us. How many crates did you find?" "Yeah, John, I think they are onto us. We got only one, but over there is the supply depot." The man points to a squat building near the river confluence. Brandon looks up and sees a small village further up, dark figures running between houses. Hugo, or is it John, turns to Brandon. "Take as many of these rifles as you can carry and hand them to every black man you find. The liberation starts tonight. The flood will follow." Brandon, shocked, stares back at Hugo. What the hell is going on?" Another series of low explosions pop off the ridge. Hugo grabs an armload of rifle and shoves them in Brandon's arms. "Just go!" Brandon runs along the shore, carrying the rifles. They are heavy, heavier than they look. The whirring sounds of cannonballs tear behind him and hits the glass top of the river. Water sprays all over Brandon. Rifles begin shooting behind him. Men with torches run at him from up the riverbank. The water droplets on Brandon's hands shine and streak in a rainbow. He remembers the water. "Get him! Over there!" one of the men with torches shouts. As they run his way, Brandon drops the rifles and falls into the river. His eardrums explode as the water rushes around him. The fast-moving river grabs him and pulls him under. He opens his mouth and water rushes down his throat. For a moment, he thinks this must be how it'll all end. He will die in this strange place. His body is turned and twisted in the endless torrent of the river. The water begins to shimmer and shine with iridescence. Again, he is enveloped in the blackness, the formless void. White light fills him, and he pops back into existence. Brandon is standing on a street corner. He looks around and recognizes the street. He is standing in downtown Ashland, the town he grew up in. Though he knows where he isn't sure when he is. The Paramount Theater looks brand new. He looks across the street and sees that the 2 bridges that go across the Ohio River are gone, and in their place is a single 2-lane bridge. A brand new Ford Galaxy with white wall tires cruises by him. He watches it cruise down the road when a horn blows. An old beat-up Hudson Hornet pulls up next to him. 2 men are in the front of the car. The driver is a dirty-looking man with a weathered face. He leans out the window and spits on the ground at Brandon's feet. "You gonna come with us now?" the driver says. The man in the passenger seat sits in silence, not even looking at Brandon. He is a large man with a tree trunk for a neck. Both men scare Brandon in very different ways. I don't need a ride, thanks." The man in the passenger seat turns to Brandon silently. The driver snaps his fingers at Brandon. "Hey buddy, we weren't asking. Get in." Brandon thinks about running, but stops when the back door of the car opens. Margaret leans out of the car, her purple eyes flashing in the sunlight. "Oh, don't let my boy scare you, Brandon. Get on in. I've got something to show you." Margaret slides over and pats her hand on the bench seat. Brandon hesitantly gets in the car. "Let's kick up some dust," the driver says and peels out through the intersection. "Now you drive with your senses, Caleb." Margaret turns to Brandon. "Sorry about my sons here. They got good hearts, but they got a bit of the wildness still in them. The one in the driver's seat is Caleb, and that is Asher. Boys, say hello to Brandon." Hello. Both say in an unenthusiastic unison. The car is moving fast, turning up roads, going up hills at dizzying pace. Brandon looks for the seatbelts but doesn't find any. Margaret is sitting calmly next to him, humming lightly. The car turns up a road and suddenly Caleb slaps Asher. "Damn it, why'd you make me miss that turn? This is the wrong way, you big lug. It's your job to get us there." Caleb turns the car sharply into a U-turn. He quickly runs out a road and pulls across someone's front yard before going back onto the road. "Now boys, you calm down up there. We're almost there." Brandon whispers to Margaret, What's going on?" "You'll see soon enough." The car bumps along a dirt country road going up and up and up. Brandon doesn't exactly recognize this part of town, but he thinks they must be going up Music Mountain. The houses look like old country shacks, chickens pecking around many of the yards. Suddenly, the car lurches to a stop. "Here we are, come on now." Margaret gets out of the car and Brandon follows. They walk along the path and the trees open up to a view of Ashland. Now here we are." Brandon looks down onto Ashland and it gives him a moment of startle. Most of the town is underwater. The banks of the Ohio River are gone, and the water is up to the roofs of many buildings. Brandon has seen this image before. "This is 1937, isn't it?" he asks. "Oh yes it is. The Great Flood has come again. This is what I wanted to show you. There has been a great flood every generation since the days of Noah. Sometimes the flood wipes the evil clean off this earth. Sometimes it's the evil that causes the flood. This flood here, this one took my dear husband. Now I want you to look hard at this, Brandon. I want you to remember this." Why? Why are you showing me this?" Margaret turns to Brandon. Her normally bright eyes flash dark. Because the flood to end all floods is coming, Brandon. Lord, yes, it's coming. And you've got a big part to play in it all. Brandon looks back at the town below, then back to Margaret. I'm not sure what I could do. You will. When the time comes, you will know. But Brandon starts, not knowing what to say. Margaret stops him. Do you think Noah had any idea what to do? Lord, no. We can only react to our lives as it happens. Don't you worry, Brandon. You will know. Now, speaking of Noah, it's time for you to get back to your place. Why don't you wash your hands in that stream over there? Brandon looks at the stream and then back at Margaret. Don't worry, Brandon. I'll see you again soon. He reaches down into the stream. Iridescent blackness washes him down the stream. He turns and twists in the water, faster and faster down the mountain. Then, he pops back into his living room. He sits up covered in sweat. Looking into the darkness of his apartment, he wonders what lies ahead.